the recording has started. So I'd like to welcome you all to what is, in actual fact, the second of the Arwa Indus region seminars. This was a seminar series that officially attempted to start in July, but we have had a few mild false starts. And it was something that was originally designed to follow on from the Two Rains seminars. And I know many of you participated in the Two Rains project seminars, which ran in May and July of this year. And I'd like to thank you for your continued support from that, and also for joining us today. So this is we have had a few instances of the impact of the ongoing coronavirus impacting upon people's ability to join and present and various sorts of other things. But I just would really like to welcome you warmly. I know from looking at the names on the list is that we've got people joining us in many, many time zones, spanning from Australia through India, Pakistan, Iran, different parts of Europe, the UK, and also North America. So in the end, the attempt to make it in the middle of the day in the UK was partly related to trying to span the globe in that respect. I realized that we've had changes in daylight saving for various people since the first invitation went out. And also, I hadn't actually changed all of the different calendars and also made mistakes in the email that I sent out. So the fact that there's actually over 50 people here is fantastic testament to your ability to interpret my crazy emails and messages. And I'd like to thank you all and welcome you. I would like to welcome Dr. Zakirullah Jan from the University of Peshawar, who's an old friend and colleague who I've actually been working with for quite an extended period of time. Oh, Zakir is just gone. Oh no, he's here. Excellent. So Dr. Zakirullah Jan is a specialist in the Bronze Age archaeology of the subcontinent, and he's worked on a number of Indus civilization archaeological sites. And he's going to be giving us a lecture today about relatively recent and very recent archaeological research in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and particularly the region of the Gomal. I'm going to basically stop speaking shortly, but we'll be monitoring things in the background. If people have questions, I would request that you put them into the chat, and we will we'll let Zakir talk, and then we'll give him an opportunity at the end to answer any questions that you might have. And unless I'm mistaken, there is the option to post messages to me if anybody has any particular specific questions as well. But I would like to just welcome you all. Thank you very much for joining us all. And I'd like to welcome Zakirullah Jan, who's going to be speaking with us. Zakir, do you want to try and turn your mic on and share your screen? And you can get started. Excellent. So we can see everything. We just need to select the viewer. That's it. Okay. The floor is yours. I'll give you a warning as we discussed, but thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Captain Petrie. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to give a talk on the latest archaeological activities in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa by the University of Peshawar. And I would like to thank also the Arwa in the seminar series for giving me this opportunity to be here. As you know well, that the topic of presentation is actually the latest archaeological excavations carried out at the site of Rehman Dheri. So from 2015, 2016, and 2017, three seasons of excavations were carried out there. And then we have a season of excavations at another important site in the Gomal Plain, that is Sikander in 2016. So these two sites are important, and they are located in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. In addition to these excavations, we also conducted explorations in the adjacent region of the Gomal region, that is known as the Dera Ghazi Khan or DG Khan, and particularly the Kohe Suleiman series, which separates the Baluchistan region from the Punjab. So it is lying adjacent to this, and we had previously we had surveys in Tank region, in the Gomal region, and the adjacent region. So this time we wanted to know about the extent of the Indus civilization or the extent of the Kudijian culture in the Kohe Suleiman range and the Dera Ghazi Khan. So we carried out explorations there, and today I would like to share the data with you. This project was carried out by the Department of Archaeology, University of Peshawar, the Sir Sahibzada Abdul Qayyum Museum of Archaeology, University of Peshawar, in collaboration with the Directorate of Archaeology and Museums, Government of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And I'm also thankful to the Punjab Archaeology, who issued me a license to carry out the explorations in Dera Ghazi Khan region. This is the map of South Asia. You can see the Himalayas over here and the entire South Asia region. So this is the Kohe Suleiman region, and this is the Kirta range. So here are the Karakoram range and the Hindu Kush here. And adjacent are to the Central Asian region is the Gomal Valley, which is shown in this red line. I'm thankful to Cameron Petrie for giving me this map about 10 years ago. Thank you, Cameron. If you look at the map, so the South Asia is connected with Central Asia through this Gomal region and some other regions as well. So in this regard, the archaeology of the Gomal Plain is very important because it served as a corridor between Central Asia and South Asia. So if we look at the historic period archaeology of South Asia and Central Asia, so we can see that the Aryans movement is there, and the Aryans came from Central Asia to South Asia. After the Aryans, we can see the Persian Empire extended from Persia and from Central Asia, and they came the people Darius and Cyrus the Great. They entered through to South Asia through this region, and afterwards we have a long history of the Greeks, by the Bactrian Greeks, Indo-Scythian, Indo-Parthian, the Kushans, the White ones. So the history of South Asia is full of such type of adventures. And most of the people, most of the tribes, most of the dynasties, they came from either from Persia or from Central Asia through these mountainous regions, and they came towards South Asia. So the question is that why these people or these dynasties come to South Asia. So the answer is quite clear. If you look at the maps, you can see that the plain area of the Punjab, the plain area of South Asia, the plain area of Sindh, and the Gomal Plain. So it is always flooded. There are always perennial sources of water, and there is always greenery. There are always rich resources, and there are green pastures. So the people were attracted by this landscape, and the people came from this region to this area. So we also, on the basis of the historic period archaeology, we presume that this movement of the people were also there in the prehistoric time and in the protohistoric times. So we have a large number of archaeological evidences that also base this theory that most of the people migrated, they came from Central Asia to this region, to the valley of the Gomal and the other regions as well. This is a close view of the Gomal Plain. The Gomal is always surrounded by the mountainous region. So here is the Suleiman range, and to the northwest is the Waziristan hills, and the Marwat Kundi range. And on the east side, there is the valley is bordered by the Indus River. So this area is very rich archaeologically, and most of the immigrants, they use the passes. Even in the present time, there are a large number of passes which are being used by the people for their migration, for their transportation, for trade, and for everything. So still the area is very active, and it is very close to Afghanistan, and the people are coming to this region. So it is one of the fertile region, and because of the landscape, because of its fertility, the archaeology of this region is also very you see a rich one. Earlier excavation surveys were carried out in the British time, and the earliest stone tools have also been found from the Marwat Kundi range. So these stone tools were similar as the Swan culture. So about 1.89 million years stone tools have been discovered from the Marwat Kundi range. Then after the Paleolithic period, we have a gap of many years, and then there is a Neolithic period started here in this region, and the late Neolithic culture is found at Banu Basin in Shere Khan Tarakhe and Jandi Babar. So in addition to Jandi Babar, a couple of sites are also there. There is Zinda, which produce remains of the earliest Neolithic culture. So in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, this region is very important because the first village of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province are situated here in this particular region. Then the region also developed another culture which we call as the Tuchi Gomal phase. So it is actually the during the regionalization period, during the regionalization era, as has been termed by Dales and Kenair and Richard Bedo, etc. So the different regions in South Asia developed regional cultures. So in this regard, in Pakistan and in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, a regional culture emerged, and that has been called by Professor Farid Khan and his colleagues from the United States, from UK, from the British Museum, as the Tuchi Gomal phase, because they believe that the remains of this culture are found only in the Tuchi region, which is the Banu Basin, and the Gomal region, which is the Dia region.
I'm having a little trouble. Is anyone else having any troubles? Yes, thank you, Harriet. Zakir, we're having trouble hearing you. I'm not sure whether you can hear me.
Yeah, we are having trouble not listening. You're not able to hear.
Whoops. Apologize, everyone. We've lost our speaker. Hopefully he will be able to join us in a moment. I just have to, if you could just bear with us. And welcome. Yes, it's nice to see some things appearing in the chat. Welcome everyone who's in at BHU. Hello, everyone from Kabul. Very nice to hear from you all as well. South Africa. Oh, Zakir, you're here again. Welcome. Now I think you are the co-host, so you can go back to sharing your screen. Can you check your microphone again?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, fine.
You got up to the Indus period.
Yeah, I was talking about the importance of this region. We have another important site and phase in this Gomal region, which is identified at the site of Rehman Dheri, and that is the first proto-urban center of South Asia. So in the urbanism of South Asia, this region also played an important role. And afterwards, after the Indus civilization, so the people, after the Indus civilization were discovered in the Punjab, so there were opinion and there were ideas that whether the Indus civilization existed in the Gomal Plain or not. So it was a big question. A couple of small sites were discovered by Dani, but actually they did not excavate because these were small sites and they focused on the larger one, and therefore it remained unexplored. So it was considered that the Gomal Plain was occupied by the Kudiji type people, and there is no remains of the Indus civilization in this region. Because the last period of Rehman Dheri, if you look at the chronology, so it is almost contemporary with the Indus civilization because it starts from 2600 BC and lasted up to 1900 BC. So when I started my exploration in this region, so I came across about 12 to 13 archaeological sites which belong to the mature Indus period. So it is now an important piece of information that this area was equally occupied by the Indus civilization people, and the Kudijian people lived simultaneously with the Harappan people. And if you look at the site of Shartughe, which is situated in Afghanistan. So, but probably the people from Shartughe had links with the Indus civilization through this important region because a number of sites have been discovered over here. If we come to the historic period archaeology of this region, so the earliest Hindu temple of this region have also been found in the Hesur range, that is the Kafir Court temples and the Belod temples, which are identical in date and architecture with the temples of the Salt range. Then comes the Islamic period archaeology. So there are huge mounds like Akra in the Banu Basin, Charsadda, in the Bala Hisar in Charsadda. So such mounds are Chodwan, Dabara, and others. So there are huge mounds of the historic period. And the earliest Islamic period archaeology is also known in this region. So perhaps this area was, at that time, most probably it was part of Central Asia. So that's why the Central Asian elements are also found in large number, even in the Islamic period archaeology. And so this shows the importance of the region. Just a minute. Here, the exploration, and so we conducted exploration in this area. We also conducted the geophysical investigation at the initial stage at the site of Rehman Dheri and Sikander Junubi. And we also made a contour plan and noted the topography of the site. So while doing the geophysical survey, three different tools were used, three different equipment were used. One is the ground penetrating radar, and the electric resistivity meter, and the magnetometer. So these tools were also used for the geophysical survey. And we have a very good record of such type of geophysical surveys in this region. This is an old aerial view of Rehman Dheri, which was taken 1970-71. So it shows that the site of Rehman Dheri is a huge one, and it has a main street which runs in the center from east to west, and it is being joined by side lanes from either directions. And there is a fortification wall around the city of Rehman Dheri. So after we conducted this topographic survey, so we also confirmed that the site has been divided into two mounds, the the northern mound and the southern. So the profile is also quite clear that it is about 6 to 7 meter high amount, and it covers a large area. So there are various topographic data we collected during the course of our surveys. Magnetometer, we divided the whole site into different grids, and then each and every grid was surveyed through this magnetometer, and interesting results have been collected from the site. So electric resistivity, a couple of profiles have also been taken using this resistivity meter. And finally, we used also GPR for this. And it is using the GPR that we found evidences of the fortification wall of the city. Because previously, the remains of the fortification wall have not been excavated. So it was located with the help of this tool, and then later on we cleared it. So I will show it later on. This is the topographic map of the site of Rehman Dheri, which you can see it's a huge site. Can you see the cursor, Cameron? Okay. If you look at this portion, so this portion of Rehman Dheri is very rich in terms of archaeological artifacts and structures and the fortification walls that have been found over here. This is the area A of Professor Durrani, who conducted excavations in 1976 in this area. And he laid a trench over here, one trench somewhere here, and one trench across the main street in the center of the site, and one trench here in the northern half of the site. But the interesting results are discovered from this area. Then a second phase of excavations were carried out by Dr. Ehsan Ali and George Erdushi from Canada. And they carried out excavations in 1991 up to 1995 over in this area. And when I started my explorations and excavations in this area, so I also selected this area. If you look at this, so here you can see on top of the mound, just to know the profile of this site. And then I carried out extensive excavations in this area as well as in this area. So these three areas were excavated currently, and the results are interesting because of the semi-industrial units which is exposed, and because of the different cultural artifacts and the fortification wall. For those who are unaware of the cultural profile of Rehman Dheri, so initially it has been, it is a Bronze Age site, and which has been divided into three cultural phases. The Tuchi Gomal phase, which is you see is the part of the regionalization era, and it is contemporary with the Ravi phase, which has been identified at Harappa, and the Amri phase, which has been identified at you see in Balochistan, and similarly the Suti phase. So it is contemporary with the Suti phase in India. So the main period of the site is Khodigian phase, which starts from 2900 BC to 2500 BC. So all the dates here are actually taken from the excavation of Professor Durrani, and he has obtained these radiocarbon dates earlier in 1988 for the sites. So the main period of the site of Rehman Dheri is Khudiji period, and you know that the Khudiji period is called after the type site of Khudiji in Sindh. But most of the information of the site is reported from Rehman Dheri rather than Khudiji, because there is a small occupation at the site of Khudiji, and most probably the area of the Khudijin culture is this Gomal Plain, where a large number of sites are there, where some big sites like that of Rehman Dheri is reported, Gandhi Umar Khan, and so many other sites of the same period are reported in this region. And this culture, the Khudijin culture, is being influenced by the previous Tuchi Gomal phase. Even it is believed by Professor Farid Khan that the Tuchi Gomal phase actually emerged, they merged in the Khudijin culture. The third period at the site is the late Khudijin phase, which is almost contemporary with the Indus civilization in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. So the three periods are there. And then we have the second site, that is the Sikander Janubi or Sikander South. So it is a single period site and it belongs to the mature Indus period. It has been tentatively dated from 2600 to 1900 BC. As I mentioned, the 3 seasons of excavations were carried out here at Rehman Dheri. So this is the excavations which is carried out on top of the mount, just to know about the profile of culture, just to confirm whether there are, we have the 3 periods or there is some sort of transitional period or not. But the excavation result is the cultural profile is the same that has been reported earlier by Professor Durrani. A number of platforms and a number of floor levels have been reported from top to bottom, and where different cultural artifacts have been discovered. So some of the floor levels contain the grinding stones. As far as the architecture is concerned, so the mud brick is the main material which is used in the construction of walls and in the construction of rooms, etc. Usually there are platforms in which the large storage jars were fixed. These storage jars were used for the storage of grains, for storage of food items, for storage of water, etc. So this is a phenomena which is still there in the local region, and people are doing the same thing. So they still have a large storage jar in the markets for storage of such things. We do not have the construction of the platform that has been reported from Harappa and from Mohenjo-daro, but in addition to that, we have small platforms everywhere in individual houses and in the rooms and in the house units, etc. So this is the example of one of the platform which has been found in one of the rooms. As far as the profile is concerned, so it's about a 6 meter profile, and we found the same 3 periods starting from the Tuchi Gomal to the Khudijin and to the late Khudijin phase in this excavation. And even the board of architecture remain the same throughout the 3 periods. So it is the mud brick and the mud lumps used in the construction of houses. This is the drawing of the section drawing and of the profile. This is the second unit that we excavated, and here the excavation was horizontal, just to know about an area we wanted to expose. And during our excavations, we exposed this area and a house was exposed. So which you can clearly see in the drawing, that there are a couple of rooms over here which were connected through this entrance. And here is another room, and here is another room. So in front of the room, there is a courtyard, and different elements were found in the courtyard. But an interesting element of the courtyard is a silo. So a silo is found over here, and I think it is first of its kind from Rehman Dheri. So usually the local people are still using such type of silos for storage of grains. So it is made of packed clay, and it has been found. So inside this silo also certain grains, charred grains were found. So if you look at this cursor, so you will find that this is the courtyard, and in the courtyard a silo has been exposed there. So this is the close view of the silo. The important feature of the 2017 excavation is the excavation of the fortification wall. Previously, when the excavations were started in 1976, so Professor Durrani, they found remains of a wall which they thought is a fortification wall, but that fortification wall was very small one, and it was just 4 feet wide, which had a foundation of only 6 feet. Then in 1995 and 1991 to 1995, Dr. Ehsan Ali and George Irdushi, they found the impression of a wall on the surface of the site, and they draw the outline of the wall. In this slide, you can see that this is their drawing, which they have reconstructed, that the fortification wall of the site of Rehman Dheri was like this one. But probably due to the shortage of time and due to the shortage of resources, they were unable to excavate the fortification wall, and they just draw it on the map. So with the help of GPR, we located the remains of the fortification wall. And if you look at this one, so this is actually the fortification wall, which is lying very close to this house. This wall is 3.2 meters. Sorry, I have written centimeter, but this is actually meter. So it is more than 3 meter thick or wide wall. And we conducted excavations in this portion on either side of this fortification wall. So it goes deeper, and it goes below to a depth of 8 meter. And below, the a silt layer is found. So it shows that the wall goes up to the virgin side, and it starts from that portion. The wall is made of mud bricks. So the size of the mud brick is also a large one. So 44 by 20 by 10 centimeter. The wall is a straight one, so it is not a tapering wall. Usually we have tapering wall if we look at Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and other Indus period sites. So this is a straight wall. There is no tapering at all, and rather it is coated with mud plaster on both the sides, on the inner side as well as on the outer side. So this is an interesting feature of the recent excavation, so which has never been found earlier by any explorer. The other important unit or the point of this excavation is the discovery of kilns and the discovery of a semi-industrial area. So here a group of kilns have been found where a large number of over-fired pieces of pottery, ashes, charcoals, and beads, etc. So the terracotta cakes were recovered from Sikander, not from here. So they have been found here, and chronologically, on the basis of layers, they have been put into 3 phases. So right from the Tuji Gomal phase, this area was used as a baking area or a kiln area. So here you can see in that particular trench, three periods have been identified. So it means that this area was used as a kiln area or semi-industrial area throughout the cultural profile of the site. So the earliest one is shown in the yellow color, and then we have this the second phase, and the third phase kilns are shown in this light green color. As far as the findings are concerned, so we have a large number of pottery collected from the site. So most of the information we collected from the site belongs to period 1 and period 2. That is the Tuchi-Gomal phase and the Khudijien phase. So you see that the white element is definitely a hallmark of the Tuchi-Gomal phase, in which the white color is a predominant word, and there are red surface pottery which has been painted with a number of geometric designs. So there are the intersecting circles can also be seen on the potsherd on the left one, which later on is very frequently found on pottery of the Indus civilization. So here on the right sherd, if you look at this one, so here is the people leaf pattern, and the people leaf also started in the Tuchi-Gomal phase, and which later on became also the hallmark of the Indus pottery. But the important thing is the white element and the white colors. This is a typical Khudiji pot, grooved with short necks, but the important thing is the caprid. So this is the mountain gourd, or perhaps a caprid. Probably, at first glance, it seems to be a double-headed. I don't know whether it is a double-headed or it is just the ears of the figures which has been shown. But such type of figures are also found on the seal from Rehman Dheri earlier, and also on the pottery which has been excavated by Professor Durrani and Ihsan Ali. Again, this is a typical Khudijien globular jar, which has this body, and it is decorated with this flower, 4-petal flower, and on the opposite side of the same piece, the storage jar, there is a horn of a horn deity. So the horn deity is not complete one, only one single horn is shown there, but we can see that horn deity is one of the important figure of the Khudijien time, which has been depicted on several sherds from Rehman Dheri, and even from the site of Khudiji, and even a couple of sherds from Harappa of the Khudijien period. It has been depicted with this one. This is again a typical Khudijien period sherd, grooved ware. So it was found in these pieces, and then we collected all the pieces together, and it is conserved in this fashion. Now the right one, again, if you look at the water pitcher or the jar, so it is a typical Khudiji style with short necks and globular body, but this is discovered from the Tuchi-Gomal phase, and it reminds us of the skate type ware, because if you look at this, so it has a chocolate color and there is a slurry surface on this. So this is a typical phenomena. The surface treatment is Tuchi-Gomal, and the part shape looks like the Khudijien period. So there is sort of connectivity between the Khudiji and the Tuchi-Gomal phase. Again, these are some of the sherds, these are some of the pottery which have been excavated from the remains of period 1, that is the Tuchi-Gomal phase. But such type of spiral shaped designs, Such type of designs are found also on Central Asian pottery, and the chocolate colors, the white element is a hallmark of the of period one, that is the Tuchi Gomal phase. The pottery of Khudiji period at Rehman Dheri only, and the Tuchi Gomal phase. So there are large carinated bowls, and this is just the number of shards which belongs to the carinated bowls. These are very thin fabric and with rich surface and having chocolate and black color designs in combination with white elements. So all of them came from the Tuchi Gomal phase. Some of a couple of shards are there which are depicted with the figures of a dog, a hound. So a hound is actually it is still, if you look at the right picture, so it is the site of Rehman Dheri, and a boy is sitting with his dog. So dog is a very important element of his of the cultural life of the local people. So in ancient time, also dogs were kept in the houses, and they were used for hunting of other animals like rat, etc. So this is a spotted hound, which has been depicted on one of the shirts from the Tuchi Gomal phase, and again this is from Tuchi Gomal phase. This is the saw pattern. Both of them came from the Khudiji level, which is a typical Khudiji type of shirt. Sorry. And again, this one is the flange rim jar, which also depicted with this sawtooth pattern. A number of shards have been found which has the representation of a horn deity. So here you can see a figure with large horns, so which has been termed as the horn deity. Endless knot motif. This is, I think, the earliest form which is discovered from the Gomal Plain, particularly from period one, from the Tuchi Gomal period. We do have this design on in the Indus civilization and in the historic time, but it is rarely depicted in the pre-Indus time. So it is now there, which has been reported from the Tuchi Gomal phase. Then this anthropomorphic figure is reported, which is just like the Tuga ware from Balochistan. So similar shirts, similar paintings, similar designs are also found. So because of its proximity with Balochistan, so the cultural influence on Rehman Dheri is also there from Balochistan. A typical brood ware Khudijin shirt with horn deity, and again Faiz Muhammad type graveware, and which also contains the figure of a horn deity. This is from the Khudijin context. This is one piece, so with three different views. This is a typical dish on stand. So dish on stand is the man pottery of the Indus civilization, but we do have dish on stand in the Khudijin period also from Rehman Dheri, and we have dish on stand also from the previous or from the early context of the Tuchi Gomal phase. So which later on perhaps was adopted by the people of the Indus civilization. So the idea might have taken from this region. There are a number of stamp seals which are there, and they contain pinholes decoration, and which remind us of the Central Asian affinity and Central Asian influence on the Khudijin of the Gomal Plain. So it has similarity with some of the seals of terracotta from Central Asia. There is a large number of variation in the terracotta human figurines. Most of them are collected from the surface, but we do have collected samples from proper archaeological context. Most of the figurines belong to the Kudiji phase. Again, from the features, it is quite clear that most of the figurines belong to the female because of the certain features which are attached to the body. And this one, if you look at the physique, so it seems to be a figure of a male. This is other type of figurine which is so typical of the Kudiji phase. This one is, it belongs to the Tuchi Gomal phase, like the swinging leg figurine, which is so typical of the Tuchi Gomal phase, and probably it got inspiration from the Namazgah Tepe figurines there. But these are very limited in number. They have been found by Durrani and by Sanadi previously from their excavations, but in this excavation, only a few examples are there. This is again another type of terracotta human figurines, which this one, the extreme lift one on the top, it has been found from Rehman Dheri. So again, it is a surface collection from Rehman Dheri, which has a flat body. This figurine, if you look at the cursor, so it is formed from Gandhi Umar Khan. So it belongs to the mature period. Similar terracotta figurines are similar in nature and outlook. They have been formed also from other regions, like this one. This one is discovered from Tel Bakun in southern Iran, and this one is from Tepe Gaura in Iraq. So it bears some sort of similarity with these figurines of Gandhi Umar Khan, as well as from Rehman Dheri. So it shows a cultural introduction in the 3rd millennium BC. And this one is actually a decoration of the figurine, which is usually attached with the hairs of the Kudiji type figurines. Animal figurines are also found in large number, particularly the bulls. So they have been presented in various shapes and forms. And you can see that from the excavation, remains of the bone remains of bull have also been found, and still this is the site of Rehman Dheri, and you can see that the people are rearing their animals on top of the mound. So it is again an essential element of their cultural and social and even economic life, because the people mostly depend on rearing of animals even in the present time. And in the background, you can see also a large number of animals. From Rehman Dheri, from our excavations, a huge number of beads are found. So they are in hundreds, and they are smaller in size as well as they are large in size. So you can see the micro beads, the technology involved in the making of these micro beads. A large number of material were used for the making of such beads. They contain lapis lazuli, carnelian, agate, jade, chalcedony, etc. Paste beads are also there. They've been found, and imitated carnelian beads are also there. So they are terracotta beads, and sometimes they have been provided a lustrous red color, so just to imitate carnelian. Seals have also been found, but they are depicted with just geometric designs, so not like that of the Indus type. A variety of stone tools have also been found there from the site of Rehman Dheri. So these are some of the grains. These are some of the charred grains discovered from the silo, and most probably they belong to the wheat. Unfortunately, a couple of individuals have taken samples from these, and they never showed me the report back just to analyze that what type of wheat they are. But still, these grains are lying with me in the museum. So this was the excavations of Rehman Dheri. Now the excavations of Sikander Janubi. Sikander Janubi is a single period site, and it is you see it belongs only to the Indus civilization. So here the visible area is the only area which is left out, and most of the site is damaged. So that was the left out area. So that's why we tried to lay a couple of trial trenches there and excavated the site. But the result is also a good one, not a bad one, because it is the extension of the Indus civilization. If you look at the map, so the Rehman Dheri is situated here, and Sikander is situated here. So in between, here is the Gomal River. So the Gomal River appears to be a barrier between the Kudiji culture and the Indus civilization culture, because most of the Indus civilizations, Indus civilization sites are situated in this area. Gandhi Umar Khan is somewhere here in the center, and the Kudiji type sites are situated here in this area. So this is just a rough opinion. I may not be right, but it seems to me while putting all the sites on maps, so most of the sites of the Indus civilization are situated on the south side of the Gomal River, and most of the sites of the Rehman Dheri are situated on the north side. But anyhow, there are exceptions. A couple of sites of Indus are there, and a couple of Kudijian sites are also situated in this area. You see this one, this is the Indus River, and this is a canal. So a canal has been constructed in 1998 by the government of Pakistan, and you see that the canal is situated very close to the site of Sikander. So the local contractor, they took away most of the site from the actual place to construct embankment of this canal. So most of the site is disturbed, it is devastated, and the area which is left out is actually occupied by an ancient graveyard. So the people used to 80 and 100 years ago, the people used to keep this area as a graveyard. Now it is not being used for the current people, but in ancient times, 100 years ago, it was a graveyard. So that's why this area was left out, and where we conducted a couple of trial trenches just to know about the nature of the Indus civilization in this area. Here are the excavated trenches where the typical platforms have been exposed, also from the mature Harappan site of the Indus civilization in the Gomal Plain. You see that the mud brick wall is there. So all around the, all over the site, so the construction material is the mud brick, and which is plastered with a coat of mud.
Have we lost you again, Zakir? I fear that we've lost our speaker again. Oh, are you back? Can you hear me, Zakir?
Cameron, can you hear me?
We can now, yes. We lost you for a moment, but I think we can hear you again.
Okay, okay.
We're nearing the hour, so I guess that's just useful to point that out to you.
Okay. So this is the wall and the platforms. So normally there are platforms, there are floor levels attached everywhere in the archaeological sites in this particular region. The platforms are constructed because most of the settlements are having thatched roofs. So they are called as chapper, and in the ancient time it was also there. There are post holes collected from the site of Gandi Umar Khan and from Rehman Dheri. So where wooden pillars were erected, and the area which was covered with this thatch was actually made hardened by these platforms. So platforms are always there in the construction of houses and rooms, etc. In addition to these thatch roof and thatch, the architecture or hut architecture, there are mud brick walls which are also coated with a thick layer of mud plaster. Three sub-periods have been identified in the Man-Harappan period on the basis of architecture. So this is the type of walls which have been exposed in these three trenches. The earliest period is this one, which has a wall over here, and then we have the second period of the site in which a room is quite clearly visible, and then the construction of the third phase, which has a long wall in addition to this one. So this is the isometric view of the site. In one of the rooms, the floor is paved with mud bricks. So here you can see on the right side the mud bricks, which is there in one of the rooms at the site of Sikander Junubi. So a huge firing activity has been found, and the floor level is exposed, which is having a burnished reddish surface, burnt reddish surface, and this was also like the site of Rehman Dheri. It is a type of a series of kilns have been exposed over here, which shows that pottery baking was usually or mainly done in this area. So you can also see a series of kilns over here on the surface. Further, when it is exposed, so this is on top of on the top layer again. This one is showed the kiln, and when we excavated below, so also the same feature is also exposed. So it means that this area was again used for a longer time for this kiln and semi-industrial area, perhaps. Again, this another view of the kilns. In addition to the kilns, pottery remains and pottery of typical mature Harappan period have also been exposed. So a typical mature Harappan pot, as well as a shirt which has intersecting circles making floral designs, is found in other Indus period sites. The perforated vessels, the ladles, terracotta ladles, and the dish on stand rotary ware. So these are the typical Harappan period pottery which have been discovered from this area. And we have a large number of terracotta cakes as well, which is also one of the main feature of the Indus civilization. In the third phase, we conducted explorations in Dera Ghazi Khan in 2017. So the area is situated very close to the Gomal Plain, So that's why this area was selected. Also, just to know about the extension of all the cultures which existed in the Gomal Plain. But we were fortunate enough, we explored about 120 archaeological sites which belongs from the prehistoric times to the British colonial period. So there were two Paleolithic sites also discovered, and there were 6 Neolithic sites discovered. So we just show you here the Neolithic sites which are similar to Sherry Khan Tarake and similar to Jandi Babar type, because they are different from the Neolithic culture of Mehergal and Khalibur Muhammad. So on the basis of pottery, it bears similarity with the Jandi phase or the SKT phase. Similarly, in addition to the Neolithic culture, the Bronze Age sites, like the Baluch village culture sites, have also been found, and a couple of mature Indus period sites have also been found. So one of them was earlier found by Mughal Sahib, and one we discovered the mature Harappan period site. So these are some of the remains of the Neolithic period sites. So the handmade ceramics, although the burnished ware which is found at Jandi Babar and Sherry Khan Tarake, they are similar in nature over here. And this is the Basti, and this is Kalat site. So both of them are situated in Dera Ghazi Khan region. We have another site of Kan Kalat, and you can see the typical pottery of this site, which bears similarity with that of Jandi Babar. It is handmade pottery, or sometimes made on slow turn table, and which has a slurry surface, and which has been depicted with different geometric designs. They are found in large number, and Cameron, you are well aware of that, Jandi Babar and Sherry Khan Tarake. So similar nature material is also found from Kankalat and from Wattiwala court as well. There are 2 more sites of the same period, Jandi Babar type, Druhi Dagur and Druhi Pugla. So they are situated very close to each other, and similar type of pottery is also found here. And this shirt, if you look at this, so this is a couple of colors are used. So it is going towards the polychrome effect, like the type C ware from Jandi Babar and Sherry Khan Tarake. So normally the classification is made in Jandi A and Jandi B, but there is a small number of shirts which have been called by Professor Farid Khan and his colleagues as type C ware. So it bears some sort of similarity with that type C ware as well. Again, pictures and pottery of the same site that you just mentioned. It has similarity with the shirts from Jandi Babar and Khande Babar. This is Katba site. It is a Baluch village culture site, a Bronze Age site, in which you can see the typical pottery of the Baluch village culture, the Bronze Age, the advanced Bronze Age of Mehergal cultural sequence, and the Quetta mother goddess figurines typical of that region. And still, we were just visiting this site, and we found this in situ, and then we exposed it. So the same material were also lying on the surface, and we take it out from the surface of the site, and you see that human vandalism is going on there on site, and the people have constructed a large house over here, and still, so it was 3 years ago, and I don't know the latest situation after 3 years, what would have been happened to this Katba site. So coming up towards the conclusion, it is just an information, just a data to share with you. So you know that the Gomal Valley is very important because it is connecting Central Asia with South Asia, and it is, you see, a melting pot of different cultures. A huge number of cultures have been reported: the Neolithic, the Chalcolithic, the Bronze Age, the historic, the Hindu, not the Buddhists, but the Hindus and the Islamic period archaeology is very rich, and it needs proper conservation, proper investigation. It needs international collaboration because we might not have that much resources in Pakistan, that much expertise in Pakistan, and there are a huge number of sites. So for the study of the Indus civilization, for the study of urbanism, this area needs to be investigated thoroughly, and the sites needs to be properly protected. So with this, I would like to thank you all for giving me time and listening to me so patiently. So thank you very much, Cameron.
Thank you very much, Zakir. This is excellent to hear about and fabulous to see so much material and so much new work that's been happening. I've inevitably, I've got plenty of questions, and there are some other questions, hopefully well, they're starting to come now. So you're getting thanks from people already via the chat. Do you want to unshare your screen, Zakir? I guess you may need to show it again to
is it okay now?
That's fine, thank you. Now we can everyone see each other. So we have some questions that are coming in. I've got some questions as well. There's quite a simple question from Abdul Hafiz Latifi, asking whether or not there was any petrographic analysis done of the Rehman Dheri pottery.
No, I think there is no petrographic analysis done on the pottery of Rehman Dheri. So when you were doing your excavations, so you did some sort of work from the pottery of Jandi Babar and probably Accra and Shere Khan Tarake, but no such work is carried out at the site of Rehman Dheri and other sites in the Gomal Plain, like Sikander, etc.
Okay. No, I think there's a lot of there's an enormous amount of potential work that could be done, and I think it's really quite exciting. So I'm going to try and go through them in order. There's another question that's come from somebody that's not unidentifiable in the sense that they're called Galaxy A20, but so one of the question is not exactly clear, but what, so could you maybe give an explanation as to why you think the Côte d'Ivoire and the late Côte d'Ivoire material seems to be in the northern part of the Gomal Plain and Banu, but not in the south? So you mentioned that the Gomal River may be a barrier. Do you have a view on that?
So this is just my little bit understanding of the so when I studied the settlement pattern of the these two cultures, when I put these sites on the map, so it is just a rough estimate. Maybe it's not the case because there are a large number of Kudiji type sites in the Balochistan, and there are a large number of Kudiji sites in Sindh, and even in the Punjab, there are sites. And Kudiji sites are usually earlier in date, but there are so many sites which are contemporary with the Indus Valley civilization. And if you have already visited the site of Rehman Dheri, and you see that very close to the site of Rehman Dheri, the mature Harappan period site of Hisham Dheri is situated very close to the site of Rehman Dheri. So this is just a rough observation, and it's not quite clear. On the other hand, if you look at the a number of archaeological sites which have been discovered in the Texela region and the Attic region, so which is almost in alignment and close to the Gomal Plain. So there are also only Kudijian sites found in these two regions, in the Arctic region and the Texela region, and even in Rawalpindi and even in the Salt Range. So the mature Harappan period sites are lacking there, so they have not been found. So that's why we presume that perhaps the Kudiji people occupied this region and the Harappan did not. And perhaps the it shows the nature of the people. So the Kudijian might have not developed the trade links with the outside region as we do have in the Indus Valley civilization. So where the people were usually carrying out their trade and business with the outside world through sea and through land routes, etc. So that was much more a fertile region, and they used to prefer the trade, etc. And perhaps the Kudijian people only rely on their animals. They used to go in search of green pastures and shifting and things like that. So that could be one of the reasons. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. There's several comments that are sort of congratulations and thank you for the nice talk. Karusmitya Gadekar has thanked you about the showing of the napped blades and the material from the excavations. Akinori Usugi has asked whether or not you have any radiocarbon dates from Rehman Dheri, the new excavations.
No, I did not do any radiocarbon determination from my excavation, but previously it was done by Professor Durrani for his excavation. So I followed his chronology and his sequence of the dating. So I do have a lot of bones and charcoals specimens there, but unfortunately, you know well that we don't have the C14 resources in Pakistan, so it's not possible for us to conduct the C14 or radiocarbon dating in Pakistan. And afterwards, the corona started, so the transportation and of the material also so was not possible. So it was a joint project with the Directorate of Archaeology. So they were very interested to send the material to Malaysia and to UK, but unfortunately we were unable to do the same thing.
Okay, thank you. There's several other. So Aran Singh Mukan Kajale said, "Thank you, congratulations." Zakir Khan.
Thank you all. I would like to thank all the participants for listening to me, and particularly Richard Meadow. So I saw him for the first time. I have heard him a lot because he is a specialist of the Indus archaeology, and fortunately through you, I got an opportunity to see him in my life.
Excellent. I'm very happy to have helped this happen. There are some questions. I'll give Richard a chance to say something in a minute. So Viranch Dave has asked whether or not there is any prospect for mining or raw material resources, perhaps in this area. Were the people in the Gomal Plain extracting raw materials?
Actually, if you look at the map, so I saw in the map that a canal was constructed earlier, which so all the sites which are situated to the south of the canal, they have been disturbed and they have been destroyed. Now another canal under the name of the Gomal Zam and under the name of the CLBC, Chashma Lift Bank Canal. So it is actually under construction in the foothill area. So once it is constructed, that canal is provided, then there is a possibility that most of the important sites like Jandi Babar, Rehman Dheri, and Gandhi Umar Khan, etc. So they are endangered. But the provincial government, they are actually trying their level best to purchase the land of the site, and they wanted to they also want to protect these archaeological sites. So because nowadays the land is not that much expensive in that particular area, but once the canal is constructed, then even purchase of land will not be possible for the provincial government. But anyhow, recently a directorate, a branch of the directorate is opened in the DI Khan city, and a museum is under construction. So a land for the museum has been allocated, and a building has been donated by the city government. And now the material that I conducted excavations in these two sites, they will be available on display in that museum. So it will also help protect the archaeological sites in the area.
That's very good. I mean, I was impressed that so many of the new sites that you found seem to be quite well preserved, which is the ones at in the southern end. So there are a few more questions, and it would be nice to try and give you a chance to answer them. One from Shikha Rai has asked whether or not you have an opinion about whether nomadic people or mobile people may have had a role in this, the interaction in these areas. Do these people, were they involved with the regional centers or moving seasonally and coming back? Thinking about some of these ideas about enclosed nomadism.
Yeah. So for the smaller side, this idea can be applied on small side, but large sites like Rehman Dheri and large sites like Gandhi Umar Khan. So I think these were large cities. So the migration from one city to other city and seasonal migration is not possible if we look at these two sites particularly. But during the Neolithic time, definitely there were nomadic people. They were roaming in the region. They were in search of green pastures. They were in search of different natural resources, and they migrated. And particularly the Kohe Suleiman series, where I conducted the survey. So the sites, the archaeological sites are smaller one, and they might have migrated from one region into another region, because it is a practice which is still in practice in the most part of Balochistan. If you look at the Balochistan and the Dera Ghazi Khan region, so the transhuman groups are still changing their places, and they are roaming in the winter season, and again they are coming back in the summer season to that particular area.
No, I think that's a very useful point, that these regions are quite, up until relatively modern political boundaries, have made things a little bit more difficult. There's been a lot of mobility. So Akinori has asked another question about the differences between the earlier and the later Côte d'Ivoire pottery. And he's basically asking whether or not there's any indications of connections with the Indus style pottery at these late Côte d'Ivoire sites.
Yeah, so this division is mainly based on the basis of pottery, in addition to architecture and stratigraphy. The late Côte d'Ivoire pottery is mainly marked by the presence of Harappan element on the pottery of the Côte d'Ivoire phase. For example, the frequency which increased in the shape of dish on stand, and then we have the black on red painted designs on the late Côte d'Ivoire shirts. Then we have the some of the shirts are depicted with the people leaf pattern, and some of them are depicted even there are shirts which contain the fish scale design. So these are the designs on the basis of which Durrani identified the late Côte d'Ivoire phase, and it shows an influence of the Harappan on the Côte d'Ivoire or the late Côte d'Ivoire culture. So the late Côte d'Ivoire culture is mainly influenced by the Harappan people in the mainland Indus.
Okay. There's more thanks about making clear about Rehman Dheri. Aurore Didier has asked, yeah, she's asked again about the radiocarbon dates and the late Côte d'Ivoire. I mean, this is the late Côte d'Ivoire phase is is sort of fascinating in a sense, because if there are sites around the edge of the Indus civilization, or settlements, I should say, that are contemporaneous, then that suggests something quite interesting in terms of cultural dynamics. I mean, as you pointed out, there are no Indus sites in the Banu region, or the Peshawar Valley, or in the Taxila as well. So there are other sites in those areas. Do you want to say anything about the specific features of the late Khotiji pottery? I mean, you mentioned dish on stand, for example, but they have different features to the Indus, the mature Indus material.
Yeah, so it's mainly the designs on the pottery which Durrani has identified, because the 3 seasons I worked there, I actually worked mainly on the 2 periods, that is the Tushi Gomal phase remnants and the Ban Khotiji period remnants, because it is a fringe of the site and I cleared that particular area. So where I did not find any evidences of the late Khotiji phase from that particular area. So I just mentioned the classification which has been made by Professor Farzand Ali Durrani.
Okay, so there are a number of other questions or comments that are coming through. One of them is a question from Abdul Hafiz Latifi again. So could you give us an indication about the quantity of the lapis lazuli that's being found, and whether there are any raw materials that are showing that those beads are being made locally, or do they all seem to be?
Yeah. So most of the material, the precious and semi-precious stones are carnelian and lapis lazuli. So there are raw material found also on the site. In my excavation, also raw material were there, and in the previous excavation, raw material were also found there. And it is interesting to note that in the Durrani excavation, one of the beads is found which still contained a stone drill. So it was inside that bead, and it is now preserved in our museum, in the SSIQ museum. So the material were imported from outside, and they were manufactured on the site, and later on it was used by the people of this Rehman Dheri, and even in the Gandhi Umar Khan, I conducted excavation in 2003. So a similar feature is also found there. So the material were imported from outside, and the people used to make beads from this material on the site in Rehman Dheri and Gandhi Umar Khan as well.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, there's some other questions about, I guess, basically change over time, the extended period of occupation and other aspects. So, I mean, there's one question that I've been asked about, whether could you give us some information about the flint tools that were excavated, and what sort of functions that they were being used.
The tools. Yes, so these were the tools were usually used for scraping, for most of them were geometric microlithics, and they were used for cutting of grass and crops, and finishing, and even the some sort of particularly the stone cutting, the jewelry cutting, etc. So these small tools were used. Similar tools in large number, the long blades, etc. They have been found in large number from the Neolithic context, but in the Bronze Age we also have these microlithics. So these smaller shaped stone tools were used for different purposes, like cutting, smashing, and scraping, etc.
Oh, thank you. I think it would be good to maybe draw it to a close now. I think there's so many questions come through. Thank you so many people for staying with us throughout the session as well. I'm very keen to talk to you, Zakir, about the evidence for these the new sites found in the survey, in these 120 sites, and especially the ones that seem to have material similar to the SKT Jandi Baba style early pottery, because it does seem to be different to what we see in northern Balochistan. So there's a lot of very interesting potential. Yeah, there's a question about this. In the invitation that was originally sent out, this lecture will be posted on a YouTube channel in due course. And I'd just like to take another opportunity to thank you all. I'd like to thank Dr. Zakirullah Jan for giving us such an interesting talk and actually raising so many interesting questions for us. So thank you again. That's coming from me. There's some applause coming. They can come in whichever form anyone likes. You can like this.
It was a pleasure for me to be here, and that you have invited me for this talk. So my pleasure, and I'm extremely grateful to all of you, the audience and the host and everybody.
Thank you, thank you. And just to say, so we're going to bid farewell to everyone. At this time, so at the time that we've just met, there will be, provided all goes well, there will be another talk next week, and there are a series of further talks that are going to be coming up in the remaining months of this year. The schedule is a little bit infrequent because originally they were supposed to be every 2 weeks, but we've had some chopping and changing to the schedule. But I will be sending emails out to you. In theory, people received emails if they were on the Two Rains seminar series mailing list. And it was also broadcast via the Agaday list as well. So I think through those two routes, we've actually resulted in generating quite a significant audience, so which I'm very thankful. So I'll be, provided I don't have any major trouble, I'll be communicating with you all during those, via those routes again in the coming days. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Stay well and safe.